You know that exact moment when someone asks you for a favor and your brain instantly screams no. You are exhausted, your schedule is full, your battery is sitting at zero. But before that rejection can even reach your throat, a completely different word slips out of your mouth. Sure, I can do that. And just like that, you have abandoned yourself again. You smile, you nod, and you quietly swallow the heavy, sinking feeling in your chest. You tell yourself that it is fine, that you are just being helpful, that it is not a big deal. But as you walk away, a quiet, bitter voice whispers in the back of your mind, "Why do I keep doing this? Why is my own comfort always the very first thing I sacrifice?" We call it being nice. We call it being a good friend, a reliable partner, or a loyal family member. But deep down, if we are completely honest with ourselves, it rarely feels like kindness. It feels like a trap. It is the trap of chronic people-pleasing, a heavy, invisible armor we wear to make sure nobody is ever disappointed in us. We convince ourselves that being agreeable is the rent we have to pay to keep people in our lives. We blur the line between generosity and self-betrayal, believing that if we just give enough, help enough, and bend enough, we will finally feel safe. But the quiet tragedy of the chronic people-pleaser is that you spend your entire life making sure everyone else's needs are met while waiting for the world to notice yours. And the world rarely pauses to check on the person who never complains. I remember exactly when the illusion broke for me. A friend called me on a Friday afternoon, stressed and panicked. He had to move out of his apartment by the weekend, and he was completely unprepared. I had plans that night. I was practically running on empty from a brutal work week. But the familiar panic spiked in my chest, the fear of letting someone down. So I canceled my plans. I drove across the city, packed boxes, carried heavy furniture down 3 flights of stairs, and cleaned empty rooms until 4 in the morning. I was physically wrecked, covered in dust, barely able to keep my eyes open. But I thought, this is what good friends do. This is how you show up for people. I drove home, collapsed into bed, and slept through most of the next day. When I finally woke up, my entire body aching, I opened my phone. The first thing I saw was his story. He wasn't unpacking. He was out at a bar with a group of other friends, laughing, clinking glasses, celebrating his new place. I had sacrificed my weekend to save his, and he hadn't even texted to ask if I made it home safely. I sat there in the quiet of my room, and the resentment hit me like a physical blow. It was a cold, humiliating realization. I wasn't being generous, I was being used. And the hardest part to swallow was that I had handed him the instructions on how to use me. When you give until it hurts, you expect the world to reward your sacrifice with love and appreciation. But human nature does not work that way. When you constantly abandon your own boundaries, you do not teach people to respect you. You teach them that your time is cheap. You teach them that your energy is free for the taking. We do not say yes because we are just overwhelmingly overflowing with kindness. We say yes because we are terrified of the alternative. What happens if I say no? Will they think I am selfish? Will they be angry? Will they pull away? Will they realize that I am not actually as valuable as my usefulness? Underneath the nice guy mask is a deeply exhausted person who is quietly terrified of being left behind. This deep fear makes us incredibly vulnerable to a very specific kind of manipulation: guilt. Have you ever tried to quietly set a limit only to be met with a heavily loaded sigh? A family member looks at you and says, "After everything I have done for you, this is how you treat me?" Or a partner whispers, "If you really cared about me, you wouldn't even have to think about it." Guilt tripping is emotional extortion. It weaponizes your empathy against you. For years, whenever a relative pulled the guilt card, my brain would immediately surrender. I would nod, apologize, and do whatever was asked, feeling a sickening mix of duty and suffocation. I thought love meant proving I was willing to suffer for them. But love that requires your suffering to validate itself is not love. It is control. When someone uses guilt to bend your boundaries, they are not asking for connection. They are demanding compliance. And every time you give in to that guilt, you teach them that their emotional manipulation is an effective strategy. This pattern does not start out of nowhere. Somewhere along the line, usually a long time ago, you learned that being good meant being quiet, helpful, and invisible. You learned that your worth was entirely tied to your utility. If you weren't solving a problem, easing a tension, or carrying a burden, you felt useless. But living this way extracts a massive psychological toll. You become a dumping ground for other people's emotional baggage. You become hyper-vigilant, constantly scanning the room to see who needs fixing, who is upset, who might be secretly disappointed in you. Your own identity gets swallowed up in the endless task of managing other people's comfort. And over time, that chronic self-neglect breeds a deep, dark resentment. You see this play out everywhere. It is the employee who stays 2 hours late every single day, doing the work of 3 people, completely burning out, while watching a coworker who sets firm boundaries get promoted. You sit there quietly furious, wondering why your dedication is ignored. It is because people do not respect what they can get for free. When you never say no, your yes loses all its value. It becomes the baseline expectation. You are no longer doing them a favor. You are just fulfilling your assigned role as the limitless well. And the moment that well runs dry, the moment you finally snap and show a hint of exhaustion, people act betrayed. They look at you as if you are the one who changed the rules. If you are recognizing yourself in this, please take a slow breath. I want you to hear this clearly. Your people-pleasing is not a character flaw. It is not because you are weak or foolish or cowardly. It is a survival strategy. You built this armor to protect yourself in environments where it was not safe to have your own needs. You did what you had to do to survive emotional turbulence. But you are not in that place anymore. The armor that kept you safe is now the exact thing keeping you trapped. You are allowed to take it off. So how do we break a habit that feels hardwired into our nervous system? We start quietly. You do not need to become aggressive or write a 10-page essay explaining your boundaries. The most powerful boundaries are short, clear, and unbothered. When someone asks you for a favor that your body rejects, stop giving immediate answers. Buy yourself time. Say, "Let me check my schedule and get back to you." That simple phrase breaks the automatic panic reflex. When you do decline, use short sentences paired with an alternative. "I cannot help you move the whole weekend, but I can come for 2 hours on Saturday morning." "I do not have the capacity to take on this project right now, but I can send you some resources." You are drawing a line, but you are not slamming a door. Then there is the heavier challenge, when someone actively uses guilt to keep you in line. What do you do when someone throws that manipulative emotion at you? You use a 2-layered response. First, you acknowledge their feeling. Second, you hold the boundary. If they say, "I guess you just don't care about family," you look at them calmly and say, "I know you are stressed and you really wanted me there, but I still will not be able to make it." You do not argue with their accusation. You do not try to convince them that you are a good person. You simply refuse to pick up the rope. You let their disappointment belong to them. It is not your job to manage how they feel about your boundaries. I remember the very first time I actually tried this. Another weekend, another crisis from a friend. The text arrived, asking for a massive favor that would have completely derailed my rare day off. My heart pounded against my ribs. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, shaking slightly. I typed, "I am so exhausted this week. I really need Sunday to just rest. I cannot do it this time." I hit send, and I threw my phone across the bed like it was on fire. I waited for the anger. I waited for the relationship to end. But nothing burned down. The friend simply replied, "No worries, get some rest." That was it. I sat in my quiet room, feeling a strange, hollow sensation. It wasn't guilt, it was space. For the first time in years, I had a day that belonged entirely to me. I had not realized how heavy the burden of constant availability was until I finally put it down. Saying no will feel like a betrayal at first. Your nervous system will scream that you are doing something dangerous. Let it scream. The discomfort of setting a boundary is temporary. The resentment of abandoning yourself lasts a lifetime. You do not exist simply to be a convenient background character in everyone else's life. You are allowed to be tired. You are allowed to be unavailable. You are allowed to disappoint someone else if it means you finally stop disappointing yourself. The people who truly value you will not punish you for having limits. They will respect them. And the ones who walk away because you stopped bending over backward, let them go. You are finally making room for yourself.